Hi everyone, it's Laurie here again, and I'm here at my allotment today, and I'm going to be taking you through another video on bird identification. So we're going to start in this video with looking at some of the birds that you're more likely to see in your garden or your allotment or in your local green space. And some of the top birds that I've seen at my allotment here are bullfinch, house sparrow. I've seen red kite, that was flying over, but I'm going to count it. But my star bird so far has been a linnet, one of my favourites. This time of year is fantastic for birdsong, although it can be overwhelming with so many singers in the choir. I found it useful when learning songs to make little associations with each tune to help me remember it. So we're going to start with this terrible trio, the tits. So there are 3 other species in the UK, but these are the ones that you're most likely to see in the garden. And of course you're probably wondering about the long-tailed tit, so I will be talking about that as well, but it's actually from a completely different family of birds. Blue tit song is high-pitched and often contains trills. I think they sound quite sweet, but just on the verge of annoyed. Repetitive and strident, the classic 2-note great tit song sounds like a squeaky wheel or pump, but be warned, they have a large repertoire. The coal tit also has a loud and simple song, given faster than a great tit, and for me it's a little sweeter. This pair can be confusing, so have a look at them together. The coal tit is smaller, with a greyish back and 2 pale wing bars. It also has a large white patch on the back of its head, you can just about see it here. The larger great tit is much brighter with a greenish back and a black stripe going down its yellow front. Long-tailed tits are the birds that like to keep in touch as they move around, and they call frequently, with a mixture of sharp calls and trills. I always think they'd be perfect in the soundtrack of a horror film. Let's turn our attention to the finches you're most likely to see. I've included 4 species here that could pop up in the garden or local park, along with a 5th, the linnet, which is more of a farmland bird and something you can spot at the Epic site. The chunky green finch has a distinctive wheezing call, but also a lovely twittering song that they will often sing in flight. Goldfinch song is a lovely, fast and energetic tinkling affair. Chaffinches have a fast cascading song that often ends with a little flourish, but sometimes with some harsher, woodpeckeresque chips. Unlike the last 3 that sing in the open, bullfinches are more secretive, and you usually hear their soft pew calls from deep in the hedge. Linnets have a fast and zingy song, and this recording is a great mixture of song and calls to give you a feel for their voice. We'll move on to the thrush family now, which includes a couple of early risers you're probably very familiar with. Mellow but loud, the blackbird combines bursts of fluty and bubbly notes with trills and twitters in a diverse repertoire. Confident, loud and varied, the song thrush works in phrases, trying each one out for size 2 or 3 times.
Mistle thrush sounds similar to blackbird, but with shorter, more melancholy phrases. Another confusing pair, the song thrush is smaller than a blackbird, dumpier and a warm brown colour, with arrow-shaped spots on its breast. The mistle thrush is larger or the same size as a blackbird and often stands much more upright. It's a grey-brown with rounded spots on the breast. The wren has a massive voice for one so small, rapid and trilling, often belted out from deep in cover. Starlings have an eclectic mix of clicks, buzzes and whistles and are well-known imitators. Let's look next at 3 little brown birds that are all from different families but can be confusing. The chirping and chattering of house sparrows is simple and distinctive. I've heard the fast warble of the dunnock likened to a squeaky bicycle wheel. Reed bunting's song is simple chirrups, almost like they're counting to 3. It is possible to mix dunnocks up with house sparrows, especially the females, but look for the grey head on the dunnock and a much thinner, pointier beak than the chunky house sparrow beak. Dunnocks also have streaky flanks, the area between their belly and wings, unlike the house sparrow. Reed buntings can appear similar to house sparrows too. However, reed buntings have streaked underparts, unlike the house sparrow, and they also have distinctive white outer tail feathers. So let's finish this week with perhaps the most recognisable songbird in the country.
This year, a robin has decided to nest beside my shed here. You can probably hear the adult in the background, so I'm not going to stand so close now. So hopefully you might have just heard something that sounds a little bit like a water leak. It's not my water butt, it's actually a little brood of robins that are somewhere behind my shed. I can't see the nest. The parents have done a very good job of picking a very safe spot for them, but I'm really looking forward to seeing the fledglings when they come out.
Well, I was too excited not to share my baby news, but when robins aren't swearing at me, they sing a sweet but slightly wistful song, full of unpredictable pauses. Well, that's almost it for now, but why not try making up some associations to help you remember some of the songs we've talked about today? The sillier the better. Tuning into the birds around you is a great wildlife experience, so I'm going to end with some recordings I've made recently. Hopefully you'll recognise some of the birds we've talked about today, but there are also some we will talk about in future videos.